The massive space station Nexus Prime floated in the dark void between star systems. Its silver walls gleamed under the light of distant suns. Inside the main meeting hall, 12 different alien species sat around a huge circular table. The air felt heavy with worry and fear. Captain Dongwu walked slowly into the room. His dark blue uniform was clean and simple. Behind him came his crew from the human warship Perseverance. The other aliens looked at them with cold eyes. Some whispered to each other in their strange languages. The Zilani were tall and thin with blue skin. Their leader, Admiral Yujin, had 4 arms and bright yellow eyes. She wore a shiny silver uniform covered in metals. The Hektari looked like giant insects with hard shells. Their commander Boram clicked her claws on the metal table. The Corvin were short and wide with thick gray skin. They carried heavy weapons even in this peaceful meeting. The Vorthan Empire grows stronger every day, said the council speaker. His voice was deep and worried. They have taken 7 more colonies this month. Their warships destroy everything in their path. Admiral Yujin stood up on her long legs. Her 4 arms moved as she talked. My fleet has the fastest ships in the galaxy. Our plasma weapons can cut through any armor, but even we cannot be everywhere at once. Commander Boram made a clicking sound with her mouth. The Hektari have quantum destroyers. Our technology is far beyond what most species can understand. But the Vorthans have too many ships. The room filled with worried voices. Each species talked about their losses. The Vorthans were winning the war. They moved from system to system like a terrible storm. Nothing seemed able to stop them. Then everyone looked at the humans. Captain Dongwu sat quietly in his chair. His face showed no emotion. The other aliens had heard about Earth and its people. They knew humans were new to space travel. Human technology was simple compared to the others. What about the humans? Asked Admiral Yujin. Her voice had a mean tone. What can your people offer in this fight? Captain Dongwu stood up slowly. He was not very tall. His hair was black and cut short. We have 1 warship ready for battle. The Perseverance waits outside this station. The room became quiet. Then Admiral Yujin began to laugh. Her laugh was high and sharp. 1 ship? Just 1? Other aliens joined her laughter. The Corvin general hit the table with his big fist. These humans think 1 ship can help us fight an empire. Let me see this human warship, said Commander Boram. She touched a control pad on the table. A big screen appeared in the air above them. It showed the space around Nexus Prime. There were many ships floating near the station. The Zilani vessels looked like silver arrows. They were long and thin, with engines that glowed bright blue. The Hektari ships had strange shapes with many angles. They were covered in weapons that hummed with energy. The Corvin battleships were huge and dark. They looked like flying metal mountains. Then the screen showed the human ship. The Perseverance was big and wide. Its hull was thick gray metal with no shine. The engines looked old and simple. The weapons were just metal tubes sticking out from the sides. It moved very slowly compared to the other ships. That thing looks like a flying rock, said Admiral Yujin. She pointed at the screen with one of her 4 arms. How fast can it travel? Not very fast, Captain Dongwu said quietly. The aliens laughed harder. Your ship moves like a dying whale through space, Yujin said with a mean smile. How do you expect such a slow thing to fight in a real battle? Commander Boram leaned forward on her 6 legs. Human technology is at least 50 years behind ours. Look at those weapons. They appear to be simple projectile launchers. No energy shields. No quantum drives. How did your people even reach this station? Very carefully, said Dongwu. The Corvin general slammed his fist again. This is waste of time. Humans should stay home where it is safe. This is a real war, not a game for children. The council speaker raised his hand for quiet. Every species must contribute what they can. The Vorthans threaten all of us. Then let the humans help in other ways, said Admiral Yujin. They can carry supplies. They can fix broken ships. But fighting? No. Their slow ship would just get in our way. Commander Boram nodded her insect head. I agree. Humans should stay far from the battle lines. Perhaps they can patrol some quiet area where nothing important happens. The other aliens agreed. They talked among themselves and decided where to send the humans. Captain Dongwu listened but said nothing. His face stayed calm. "The outer Meridian sector needs watching," said the council speaker. "It is far from the main war. Nothing ever happens there. Perfect for a slow human ship." Admiral Yujin smiled with her sharp teeth. "Yes. Let the humans patrol empty space. The real warriors will handle the Vorthan advance." Captain Dongwu nodded slowly. "We accept this assignment." The meeting continued for many hours. The aliens made plans for their fast ships and powerful weapons. They talked about battle formations and attack strategies. They acted like the humans were not even there. Finally, the meeting ended. The aliens filed out of the room, still talking and laughing. Captain Dongwu and his crew were left alone. Lieutenant So Young came to stand beside her captain. She was young with bright eyes. "Captain, they do not respect us." "I noticed," said Dongwu. Engineering Chief Taeho frowned. His hands were dirty from working on machines. "They think we are weak and stupid." "Are we?" asked the captain. Taeho smiled. "Our ship is ready, Captain. All systems work perfectly." Weapons Officer Hyun Woo checked his tablet computer. "The weapon systems are fully charged. Every gun is clean and loaded." Dr. Yoon-ji pushed her glasses up her nose. She was the ship's scientist. "The new modifications are complete. They cannot see what we have really built." Captain Dongwu looked at his crew. These were good people. They had worked hard for many months. The other aliens thought humans were simple and weak. They would learn differently. "Then let us go to the outer meridian," said Dongwu. "We have a job to do." The humans walked out of the station. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls. Behind them, the aliens continued their important meetings. They planned great battles with their fast ships and advanced weapons. None of them thought about the slow human warship. None of them wondered why humans had really come to this meeting. None of them asked what the Perseverance could really do. This was their first mistake. Captain Dongwu and his crew returned to their ship. The Perseverance looked exactly like what the aliens expected. Big and slow and simple, but looks could be very wrong. As the human ship moved away from Nexus Prime, Taeho made his final checks. Every system was ready. Every weapon was loaded. Every plan was in place. The aliens had given them exactly what they wanted. A quiet sector, far from watching eyes. A place where they could wait for the enemy to come. Because the Vorthans would come. They always did. And when they arrived, they would find something they did not expect. They would find humans. 3 weeks had passed since the meeting at Nexus Prime. The Perseverance moved slowly through the outer Meridian sector. Space was quiet here. Only a few small planets and some rocky asteroids. Nothing important enough for the great alien fleets to protect. Captain Dongwu sat in his command chair on the bridge. The walls around him were plain gray metal. Simple screens showed information about nearby space. Everything looked basic and old compared to alien technology. "Contact on sensors," said Lieutenant So Young. She looked at her screen with worry. 6 ships approaching fast. "Vorthan?" asked the captain. "Yes, sir. They match the enemy ship patterns we studied." Captain Dongwu stood up slowly. "Show me." The main screen lit up. 6 dark ships moved toward them like hunting wolves. They were sleek and deadly. Their hulls were black metal that seemed to eat light. Bright engines pushed them forward at incredible speed. "They are scanning us," reported Communications Officer Min Seo. She had long black hair tied back in a simple way. "Strong electronic signals trying to learn about our ship." "Let them scan," said Dongwu. The Vorthan ships came closer. They moved in a perfect formation. Each ship was 3 times smaller than the Perseverance, but much faster. Their weapons glowed with dangerous energy. "Incoming transmission," said Minseo. "Put it on speaker." A harsh voice filled the bridge. The words were translated by the ship's computer. "Human vessel, this is Commander Veltar of the Vorthan Empire. You have entered our territory." Captain Dongwu picked up his communication. Device. This is Captain Dongwu of the Terran Federation. You are in neutral space. Veltar laughed. The sound was cold and mean. Neutral space belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it. Your primitive ship does not look very strong. "Are just patrolling," said Dongwu. "Not anymore," replied Veltar. "Surrender now and we will kill you quickly. Fight us and you will suffer first." The transmission ended. The 6 Vorthon ships spread out around the Perseverance. They moved like dancers, fast and smooth. Their formation was perfect. "They are jamming our communications," reported Mincio. "We cannot call for help." Engineering Chief Teho spoke from his station. "Engines are ready, Captain. All systems show green." "Weapons?" asked Dongwu. Weapons Officer Yunwu checked his controls. "All guns loaded and ready to fire." The Vorthon ships began their attack. Bright beams of energy shot across space. They hit the Perseverance's thick hull. The ship shook and the lights flickered. "Shields at 90%, reported So Young. "Return fire," ordered Captain Dongwu. The Perseverance's weapons fired back. Big metal projectiles shot from the gun tubes. They moved much slower than energy beams. The fast Vorthon ships dodged them easily. Commander Veltar's voice came over. The radio again. "Is that the best you can do? Your weapons are like throwing rocks at birds." The Vorthon ships attacked again. This time they fired more weapons. Explosions bloomed against the human ship's hull. Inside the bridge, sparks flew from damaged equipment. "Shields at 70%, said So Young. Her voice stayed calm, but her hands shook a little. "Hull breach on deck 7, reported damage. Control Officer J1. "Sealing emergency doors now." Captain Dongwu gripped his chair as the ship rocked again. Evasive maneuvers. The Perseverance began to turn. It moved like a huge whale trying to swim away from sharks. The alien ships circled around it, firing constantly. They stayed far away from the human weapons. "They are too fast," said Hyunwoo. "I cannot get target lock." "Another hull breach on deck 12, reported J1. "We are losing atmosphere." For 30 long minutes, the battle continued. The Vorthon ships took turns attacking. They would fly in fast, fire their weapons, then speed away before the humans could fight back. It looked like a one-sided battle. Inside his sleek command center, Commander Veltar watched the fight with pleasure. His ship was the fastest and most advanced. The other 5 vessels followed his orders perfectly. "Look how slow they are," he said to his crew. "These humans cannot even turn their ship properly." His tactical officer studied the scanner readings. "Their weapons are very primitive, simple projectile guns. No energy shields worth noting. Their armor is just thick metal." "And their speed?" asked Veltar. "Maximum velocity appears to be 1/4 of our slowest setting." Veltar smiled with his sharp teeth. "Perfect. We will move closer and finish this quickly. I want to record their destruction. Other species will learn what happens when they oppose the Vorthon Empire." The 6 ships moved inward. They were now only 3,000 kilometers away from the Perseverance. At this distance, their weapons could punch through any armor. "Prepare to destroy their engines first," ordered Veltar. "Let them float helpless while we take apart their ship piece by piece." On the human bridge, alarms were ringing. Red warning lights flashed on damaged systems. The crew worked frantically at their stations. "Shields at 40%, reported So Young. "More breaches on deck 9, said Jaewon. "I'm running out of repair teams." Dr. Yoonji looked up from her science station. Her glasses were cracked from the battle shaking. "Captain, the enemy ships are moving into optimal range." "I can see that," said Dongwu. His voice was still calm. "Should we try to retreat?" asked So Young. Captain Dongwu looked at the main screen. The 6 Vorthon ships were coming closer. Their weapons charged up for the killing blow. They moved with complete confidence. "No," he said quietly. "We stay and fight." "But Captain," said Hyunwoo, "we cannot hit them at this range. They are too fast." "Range is exactly what we need," replied Dongwu. He looked around at his crew. These people had trained for this moment. They knew what to do. The months of preparation were about to pay off. Engineering, Are all systems ready? He asked. Taeho smiled for the first time during the battle. All systems are perfect, Captain. Weapons? Hyunwoo checked his displays again. Every gun is loaded and aimed. Science? Dr. Yoonji pushed her broken glasses up her nose. All calculations are complete. Captain Dongwoo sat back in his chair. The Vorthon ships were almost in perfect position. Commander Veltar was about to learn something very important about humans. They were much more dangerous than they looked. Sir, said So-young, enemy ships are charging their main weapons. I know, said Dongwoo. They will destroy us, said Minseo. No, said the captain. They will not. He watched the enemy ships on his screen. They moved with such confidence, such pride. They thought they had already won. Commander Veltar was making his final approach. His ships were in the perfect formation to destroy the human vessel. His weapons were ready to fire. He had no idea that he was flying directly into a carefully prepared trap. 2,000 kilometers in closing, reported So-young. Captain Dongwoo took a deep breath. Now. The word now came from Captain Dongwoo's lips like a whisper, but it changed everything. The Perseverance stopped being a slow, damaged whale. In 1 second, it became something completely different, something terrifying. The thick, gray hull, plates that looked like simple armor began to split open. Hundreds of hidden panels slid away with mechanical precision. Underneath was not more armor. Underneath were weapons, lots and lots of weapons. Gun barrels emerged from secret compartments. Missile tubes opened like metal flowers blooming in space. What the Vorthons had thought was a primitive ship revealed its true nature. The Perseverance was not one ship. It was a floating weapons platform disguised as a simple vessel. Target acquisition complete, announced Weapons Officer Hyunwoo. His fingers moved across controls that had been hidden during the battle. All guns have lock. The 6 Vorthon ships were exactly where Captain Dongwoo wanted them. Close enough that their speed advantage meant nothing. Close enough that they could not escape. Engineering. Chief Taeho activated systems that had been sleeping for 30 minutes. Magnetic accelerators online. Power at maximum. Dr. Yoonji smiled behind her broken glasses. Gravity mines are active. Exit routes sealed. Commander Veltar saw the human ship transform and felt his blood turn cold. What is that? He screamed at his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Our scanners show massive weapons appearing from nowhere. Impossible. Their ship was primitive. We scanned it. The scans were wrong, sir. Or what? Or they wanted us to see a weak ship. Veltar realized his mistake too late. The humans had been acting, playing weak, drawing the Vorthon ships into a killing zone. The first human weapon, fired. It was not like the slow projectiles from before. This was something else entirely. A magnetic accelerator cannon launched a tungsten rod at incredible speed. The projectile moved so fast it became a streak of light. The leading Vorthon ship simply vanished. One moment it was there, sleek and deadly. The next moment it was expanding gas and twisted metal. The tungsten rod had hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. Evasive action, screamed Veltar. His remaining ships tried to scatter, but they discovered something terrible. They could not move away from the human ship. Something was holding them in place. Sir, reported his pilot, we cannot achieve escape velocity. Something is interfering with our engines. Dr. Yoonji had been busy during the fake battle. While the Vorthons attacked, she had been quietly deploying gravity mines throughout the area. These devices created small distortions in space-time. They were invisible to normal scanners. But they made faster-than-light travel impossible. The Vorthon ships were trapped. The second human weapon fired. Then the third. Each shot was perfectly aimed. The magnetic accelerators hurled their deadly projectiles with mathematical precision. Navigator Minseo coordinated the attack from her station. Target 2 is attempting to climb out of the gravity well. Adjusting fire solution. Another Vorthon. Ship exploded. Its armor, designed to stop energy weapons, was useless against solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. This is impossible, Veltar broadcast on all frequencies. How can humans have such weapons? Captain Dongwu picked up his communication device. You made two mistakes, Commander. First, you thought we were weak because we looked weak. Second, you came close enough for us to kill you. The Perseverance revealed more hidden weapons. Missile. Batteries that had been disguised as structural supports opened fire. But these were not normal missiles. They were smart weapons that could change direction and think for themselves. Veltar's ship tried to run. Its engines screamed at maximum power, but the gravity mines held it like invisible chains. The smart missiles followed every twist and turn. Deploy countermeasures, ordered Veltar. His ship released clouds of metal chaff and electronic jammers. The countermeasures worked against normal missiles, but human weapons were different. They used multiple guidance systems. When one method was blocked, another took over. The missiles struck home. Explosions bloomed along the Vorthon ship's hull. Lieutenant So Young watched her instruments. Enemy Ship 3 is dead in space. Engine failure. Ship 4 is trying to signal surrender, reported Min Seo. Ship 5 has lost life support, added Dr. Yunji. Commander Veltar found himself alone. 5 of his 6 ships were destroyed or disabled. His own vessel was damaged and trapped. The humans had turned his perfect ambush into a massacre. How? He whispered. On the human bridge, Engineering Chief Taeho answered the question, even though Veltar could not hear him. Months of preparation. Every system planned and tested. We knew someone would come. Captain Dongwu stood up from his chair. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. The battle was almost over. You see, he said into his communicator, humans have been watching space for a long time. We studied every alien ship design. We learned from every battle report. We knew that advanced aliens would underestimate primitive humans. The Perseverance fired its final shot. Veltar's ship shuddered as the tungsten projectile punched through its hull. Emergency alarms screamed. Life support began to fail. So we built a ship that looked exactly like what you expected to see, continued Dongwu. Slow, simple, harmless. We practiced acting weak. We trained our crew to make the performance believable. Veltar's ship was dying around him. Most of his crew was dead, his weapons were destroyed, his engines were silent. But why? He asked. Why go to such trouble? Because, said Captain Dongwu, sometimes the best way to win a fight is to let your enemy think they have already won. The fake hull breaches had been prepared in advance. Empty sections of the ship had been rigged to vent atmosphere safely. The apparent damage was all planned. Even the shaking and sparks on the bridge had been carefully arranged. Dr. Yunji had spent the entire fake battle analyzing Vorthon weapons and tactics. Every shot they fired gave her more information. By the end, she knew exactly how their shields worked and where their weak points were. Weapons Officer Hyun Woo had been tracking the enemy ships the entire time. His computers calculated the perfect moment to spring the trap. When the Vorthons moved close enough, they sealed their own fate. Navigator Min Seo had been placing the gravity mines with mathematical precision. Each device was positioned to create an invisible cage around the battle area. Engineering Chief Taeho had been running the ship's reel systems at low power. All the important equipment was hidden and protected. When the moment came, he activated everything at once. The result was perfect. 6 advanced alien warships destroyed by 1 primitive human vessel. Commander Veltar made his final transmission. His voice was weak and full of pain. Warning to all Vorthon forces, do not underestimate the humans. We have awakened. Something terrible. Then his ship went silent forever. Captain Dongwu looked around his bridge. His crew had performed perfectly. Not one person had broken character during the fake battle. They had all played their parts like skilled actors. Damage report, he ordered. No real damage, sir, reported So Young. All the breaches were simulated. All systems are functioning normally. Casualties? None, sir. Excellent. Dongwu sat back in his command chair. Send a message to Earth Command. Mission accomplished. The Perseverance began to clean up the battlefield. Recovery teams collected useful wreckage from the destroyed ships. The gravity mines were retrieved and prepared for the next battle. Because there would be a next battle. The Vorthon Empire would not ignore the destruction of a scouting force. They would send more ships, bigger ships, more dangerous ships, but that was exactly what the humans wanted. They had a plan for those ships too. The news traveled fast through space. Commander Veltar's final warning reached Vorthon High Command within hours. The message was short, but terrifying. 6 advanced warships destroyed by 1 primitive human vessel. General Zethron read the report 3 times. He was the supreme commander of all Vorthon military forces. His office was deep inside the Empire's greatest space fortress. The walls were covered with maps showing conquered worlds. "This cannot be accurate," he said to his aide. "Humans do not have such weapons." The aide was nervous. Bad news always made the general angry. "Sir, we have confirmed the destruction of Battle Scout Group 7. All 6 ships are gone. Show me the battle recordings." The aide activated a holographic display. Fuzzy images appeared in the air. The recordings came from Veltar's ship in its final moments. They showed the human vessel transforming from a simple freighter into a weapons platform. General Zethron watched in silence. His 4 eyes studied every detail. The magnetic accelerators, the smart missiles, the gravity mines. This was not primitive technology. Humans have been hiding their true capabilities. He said finally. "Should we avoid human space?" asked the aide. Zethron turned all 4 eyes toward his subordinate. The aide stepped back in fear. The Vorthon Empire does not avoid anyone. If humans want to play games, we will show them what real power looks like. He activated his communication system. "Prepare Battle Group Crimson for immediate deployment. 24 ships, our finest vessels and most experienced crews. Destination, sir? The Outer Meridian sector. We have humans to eliminate." Meanwhile, at Nexus Prime, the Galactic Defense Council was in emergency session. Admiral Yu Jin of the Zilani paced around the meeting room on her long legs. Her forearms gestured wildly as she spoke. "The reports must be wrong," she insisted. "Humans cannot destroy 6 Vorthon ships." Commander Boram clicked her claws on the table. "I analyzed the sensor data from our monitoring stations. The energy signatures match Vorthon vessel destruction." "Then the Vorthons are lying," said Yujin. "Perhaps they destroyed their own ships to make humans look dangerous." The council speaker shook his head. "Why would they do that?" "To justify a larger attack on human space. The Vorthons always look for excuses to expand their territory." Other council members argued back and forth. Some believed the reports, others thought it was impossible. The debate continued for hours without reaching any conclusion. Finally, a new transmission arrived. It was from Captain Dongwu himself. "Greetings, Council," said the human captain. His image appeared on the main screen. Behind him was the bridge of the Perseverance. "I am requesting permission to engage incoming Vorthon forces." Admiral Yujin laughed with her sharp voice. "More Vorthons are coming? How many ships?" "Our sensors detect 24 vessels approaching the Outer Meridian." The room became very quiet. 24 Vorthon warships was a massive force. Enough to destroy entire star systems. "Captain," said Commander Boram carefully, "perhaps you should retreat. Call for assistance from our fleets." "Negative," replied Dongwu. "We can handle this situation." Yujin's laugh became even sharper. "1 human ship against 24 Vorthon vessels, this is madness." "We have our methods," said the captain. The council members looked at each other with worried expressions. Some wanted to send help. Others thought the humans were being foolish. A few secretly hoped the Vorthons would eliminate what they saw as an unpredictable element. "Very well," said the council speaker. "Permission granted. But we cannot spare any ships to assist you." "Understood," said Dongwu. "We will handle this alone." The transmission ended. The council continued their debate, but Captain Dongwu was no longer listening. He had work to do. On the Perseverance, the crew was already preparing for the next battle. This would be much larger than the first encounter, 24 ships instead of 6, but the humans had been planning for this possibility. Dr. Yunji worked at her science station. She had spent the past week analyzing wreckage from the destroyed Vorten scouts. Their energy shields are designed to stop plasma and laser weapons, she reported. But they have been modified since our last encounter. Modified how? Asked Captain Dongwu. They added protection against kinetic projectiles. Veltar's final data transmission warned them about our magnetic accelerators. Engineering Chief Tae-ho frowned. So our main weapons will be less effective? The standard tungsten rods, yes. But we prepared for this possibility. Dr. Yunji smiled behind her glasses. The science team had been very busy. I have developed new projectile types, multi-stage penetrators that can adapt to different shield frequencies, cluster rounds that split into smaller pieces, and something special for their command ship. What kind of special? Asked Weapons Officer Hyunwoo. You will see. Navigator Minseo looked up from her charts. I have plotted the enemy approach vector. They will arrive in formation at coordinates 77 Alpha. Perfect, said Captain Dongwu. Deploy the welcome committee. The crew began their preparations. The past 3 weeks had not been wasted. While the galaxy debated human capabilities, the Perseverance had been turning the entire star system into a weapon. Automated defense. Platforms were hidden among the asteroids. Each platform looked like space debris, but they carried powerful missile systems. Gravity mines were placed at key points throughout the system. Sensor networks monitored every approach route. The humans had also prepared their ship for modular separation. What looked like one vessel was actually 7 independent units that could fight together or apart. Each section had its own engines, weapons, and life support. Lieutenant So Young monitored long-range sensors. Contact. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at the system edge. How many? Asked Dongwu. Confirmed count. 24 vessels. They match Vorten battlecruiser specifications. Captain Dongwu stood up from his command chair. Open. A channel to the entire galaxy. Full broadcast on all frequencies. Minseo worked her controls. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Dongwu of the Terran Federation warship Perseverance, he announced. To all listening stations, Vorten Battle Group Crimson has entered human-protected space. We are ordering them to withdraw immediately. He paused for a moment, then continued. To General Zethron, you have one chance to turn around and leave. If you continue your approach, you will face the consequences. The response came quickly. General Zethron's voice was full of anger and pride. Human vessel, this is General Zethron of the Vorten Imperial Navy. You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender immediately and we will grant you a quick death. Negative, replied Captain Dongwu. This is where your advance ends. We shall see about that, snarled Zethron. Battle Group Crimson, attack formation Delta. Destroy that primitive ship. 24 Vorten warships began moving toward the Perseverance. They came in perfect formation, engines blazing with deadly light. Each ship was larger and more advanced than the scouts from before. Their combined firepower could destroy small moons. But General Zethron had made the same mistake as Commander Veltar. He thought he understood what he was facing. He thought humans were primitive and weak. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The battle for the Outer Meridian was about to begin, and this time the entire galaxy would be watching. The 24 ships of Battle Group Crimson moved through space like a school of metal sharks. Each vessel was 3 times larger than the scouts that had died before. Their hulls were thick with advanced armor. Their weapons could burn through asteroids. General Zethron stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. Around him, his officers worked at gleaming control stations. Everything was perfect. Everything was under control. Range to target? He asked. 50,000 kilometers and closing, reported his tactical officer. The human ship appears to be alone. No sign of other vessels? None, sir. They have not called for help. Zethron smiled with his sharp teeth. Foolish humans. 1 ship against 24. This will be over quickly. The Vorten ships formed a battle sphere around the Perseverance. It was a classic formation designed to attack from all directions at once. No enemy could escape such a trap. On the human bridge, Captain Dongwu watched the enemy formation take shape. His crew worked quietly at their stations. No one seemed worried. "They are using Formation Delta," observed Navigator Minseo. "Standard Vorthon battle sphere. Predictable," said Dongwu. Dr. Yunji looked up from her science station. "All defensive systems are ready, Captain. The star system is prepared." "Engineering?" Chief Tae-ho smiled. "All sections report ready for separation. Modular systems are online. Weapons?" Officer Hyunwoo checked his displays. "All batteries loaded with the new ammunition types. Targeting computers are locked on priority targets." Captain Dongwu took a deep breath. The past months of preparation had led to this moment. Everything depended on perfect timing. "Range, 20,000 kilometers, reported Lieutenant So Young. The two fourth-hand ships began charging their weapons. Energy built up in their gun barrels like caged lightning. Soon they would fire all at once. The combined attack would vaporize any normal ship. "Range, 10,000 kilometers, said So Young. "General." Zethron raised his hand. "All ships prepare to fire." 5,000 kilometers, announced So Young. "Fire!" commanded Zethron. 24 ships unleashed their weapons at the same moment. Beams of pure energy lanced across space. Plasma bolts hot enough to melt steel. Particle streams that could cut through mountains. All aimed at one target. The Perseverance vanished in a ball of fire and light. "Target destroyed," reported the Vorthan tactical officer. General Zethron nodded with satisfaction. "Record this for the Imperial Archives. Let all species know the price of opposing the Vorthan Empire." But then something impossible happened. The ball of fire began to split apart. 7 separate pieces emerged from the explosion. 7 independent ships where there had been one. "What is that?" demanded Zethron. "Unknown, sir. The human vessel appears to have separated into multiple components." The tactical officer was wrong. The Perseverance had not separated because of damage. It had separated on purpose. The explosion had been a screen of superheated gas released at the perfect moment. While the Vorthans congratulated themselves, the human ship had transformed. Captain Dongwu now commanded the primary command section. Engineering Chief Tae-ho controlled the massive engine module, which was actually a mobile missile platform. Weapons Officer Hyunwoo operated the main gun array. Dr. Yunji commanded the science section with its experimental weapons. Each section was a fully functional warship. Together they formed a fleet more dangerous than anything the Vorthans had imagined. "All sections report ready," announced Minseo from the communications module. "Begin the lesson," said Captain Dongwu. The real battle started. Hidden weapons platforms throughout the asteroid field came online. What the Vorthans had thought was empty space revealed itself to be a carefully prepared killing ground. Missiles launched from rocks that were not rocks. Energy beams fired from metal chunks that were actually disguised gun turrets. The automated defenses attacked in perfect coordination, but they were only the beginning. Taeho's engine section fired its first volley. 50 missiles launched at once, each one guided by its own computer brain. The Vorthans tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions bloomed along the hulls of 3 enemy ships. Hyunwoo's gun array revealed weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Magnetic accelerators that could fire through hyperspace itself. The tungsten projectiles appeared inside Vorthan shields, bypassing their defenses entirely. 2 more ships died in seconds. Dr. Yunji's science section deployed her special creation, gravity bombs that created tiny black holes. The artificial singularities lasted only moments, but they twisted space-time around the enemy ships. Vorthon vessels found themselves pulled apart by forces they could not understand. "Impossible!" screamed General Zethron. "No species has such weapons!" His tactical officer was panic-stricken. "Sir, we are losing ships faster than our computers can track. 8 vessels destroyed, 5 more heavily damaged. All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance." But retreat was not possible. The gravity mines that Dr. Yunji had planted were now active. They created an invisible cage around the battle area. The Vorthon ships could not escape to hyperspace. Captain, Dongwu's command section broadcast on all frequencies. General Zethron, you are trapped in human space. Surrender now and your remaining crews will be spared. Never, replied Zethron. Vortons do not surrender to primitives. Then you will die here. The 7 human ship sections began a coordinated attack that redefined space warfare. They moved like dancers, each one supporting the others. When Vorton ships tried to focus, fire on one section, the others would attack from behind. Navigator Minseo's communications module launched electronic warfare attacks. Vorton ship computers were infected with viruses that turned their own weapons against each other. 3 ships destroyed themselves when their targeting systems went crazy. The remaining Vorton vessels tried desperate tactics. They rammed their ships toward the human sections. But the humans had planned for this too. Gravity fields deflected, the ramming attempts sending the enemy ships spinning into each other. General Zethron watched his perfect fleet fall apart. Ship after ship was destroyed by weapons that should not exist, technologies that defied everything he knew about warfare. How? He whispered. Captain Dongwu answered over the communication channel. We learned from watching you, General. Every battle you fought taught us something new. Every victory you won showed us your weaknesses. The human sections continued their deadly dance. 17 Vorthon ships were destroyed. 4 more were disabled and drifting. Only 3 vessels remained functional, including Zethron's flagship. You see, continued Dongwu, humans have been preparing for this war longer than you know. We studied every alien technology. We developed countermeasures for every weapon. We built ships specifically designed to fight enemies like you. The last 2 escort ships died under concentrated fire from the human sections. General Zethron was alone, his flagship surrounded by 7 human vessels. Your empire made one critical mistake, said Captain Dongwu. You believe that advanced technology makes you superior, but humans know something you forgot. What? Asked Zethron. His voice was weak with defeat. Intelligence beats technology, strategy beats superior weapons, and underestimating your enemy is the fastest way to lose a war. The Devastator's engines were dead. Its weapons were destroyed. Life support was failing. General Zethron made his final transmission. Warning to all Vorthon forces, he said. Retreat from human space immediately. Do not engage their ships. We have made a terrible mistake. Then his ship went silent forever. The battle was over. 24 advanced warships destroyed by 1 human vessel that had revealed its true nature. The engagement lasted exactly 17 minutes from first shot to final victory. Across the galaxy, monitoring stations recorded everything. The impossible had happened. Humans had not just defeated a Vorthon battle group, they had annihilated it completely. At Nexus Prime, the Galactic Defense Council watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. Admiral Yu Jin sat down heavily in her chair. Her forearms hung limp with shock. Impossible, she whispered. Commander Boram's insect eyes were wide with amazement. Their weapons technology is centuries beyond what we believed possible. The council speaker cleared his throat. Perhaps we owe the humans an apology. Within hours, official messages began arriving at the Perseverance. Admiral Yu Jin formally requested human tactical advisors for the Zilani fleet. Commander, Boram proposed technology exchange programs. The Corvin general asked for military alliance discussions. The Vorthon Empire, faced with the total destruction of their elite battle group, agreed to a ceasefire for the first time in their history. Peace negotiations were scheduled to begin immediately. Captain Dongwu stood on the bridge of the reassembled Perseverance. The 7 sections had reconnected into their original configuration. Around them, space was filled with the wreckage of enemy ships. Lieutenant So Young approached with a message pad. New orders from Earth Command, sir. The Terran Federation has been invited to join the Galactic Defense Council as a senior member. And our next assignment? Diplomatic escort to Nexus Prime. It seems our new allies want to see what human engineering can really accomplish. Captain, Dongwu smiled. Set course for Nexus Prime. It is time to show the galaxy what humans can do when we are not pretending to be weak.